On this week's episode of the Jesse T Show, the amazing and powerful Xavier Johnston, managing partner of SmartECO Blockchain. So Xavier, pleasure to have you on the show, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, no, thank you so much for inviting me, Jesse.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to talk to you. You know, we connected and there was a lot of synergy, and there's a lot of things that I think that you're trying to do in the entrepreneurial space of blockchain and so many other things that you're working on. So I wanted to have you on so you could share your story and collaborate together. So tell the world a little bit about Xavier Johnston.
Oh, absolutely. So you pretty much summed it up, entrepreneur. I'm trying to enter the fintech space, trying to put out software and products that actually help people. And that's one of the mandates that we do have with anything that we do is how does it help people? And not in the sense where you have something that may help you tie your shoelaces, so to speak, you know what I mean? If somebody has that out there, no offense. But essentially what we're saying is that the software and products that we put out has to make a definitive impact on someone's life, whether it's helping them become financially independent, whether it's helping them just gain knowledge, or even just access to basic essentials of human life. And that's what we're trying to do.
So what are a couple of things, what is SmartECO doing in the world, like kind of disrupting with the blockchain technology, or how is it utilizing blockchain in some of is it dealing in crypto, and what does that look like?
Right. So what we always like to say is to be disruptive within a framework. Right. So what I find is that too often when you have new technology that comes out, blockchain in particular, and for the right reasons, people want to implement blockchain in all its glory and for what it's worth, and don't regulate it. It regulates itself. But that's a little too radical right now. And so what we have done is to bring blockchain to some very, very practical uses, everyday life kind of thing, and implement it in the current framework. And so one such industry that we're playing in right now is real estate. So what we're doing is creating, or we have done, we're actually in the pilot stages now, is created a blockchain-based real estate platform. And so essentially what that does, in addition to empowering consumers, we've made it kind of intuitive. We've made it so that if you're someone that has never ever bought a piece of property before, bought a home, it guides you through the entire process and then it protects you. Again, no offense to any professionals out there, but let's call a spade, is that not everyone is as well intended as you may want them to be. And so blockchain kind of keeps everybody accountable. And when you couple that with the design that we have to teach people and to guide people through a process, that really, really empowers the consumer. Now, we're not trying to get rid of professionals. We're not trying to get rid of the realtors or the banks or anybody like that. We've made it interoperable, bring everybody on board, keep everybody accountable, keep the system efficient. And that's what we're doing for real estate.
And how have you seen it integrate so far in that industry? How's the reception been, and how have people been, like, how do they actually use it to move their business or those transactions in real estate ahead? Right.
So the fact of the matter is this, is that the real estate, well, I would assume it may be the same in the US as well. We're here in Jamaica. And the real estate platform or the real estate industry is an extremely fragmented one. There's no real single interoperable platform. And so just the concept of being able to conduct the entire transaction from a sales agreement to someone applying for a pre-approval for their mortgage, actually processing the mortgage, getting insurance to cover the mortgage, and doing the sales agreement and going right through. Everybody finds that extremely attractive. If there was any hesitation or any second thoughts whatsoever, it's just about how all of it comes together. But in the grand scheme of things, everybody really is receptive. And for that reason, we're actually piloting right now with some real estate agents and some attorneys and pushing a few transactions through. And then afterwards, we'll bring it on to mainstream. But so far, everyone that we've spoken with identifies not only the value, but the efficiencies as far as time, efficiencies as far as cost. So sure, it's been a great product so far.
That's awesome. And so what has been some of the direct feedback that you've gotten from either the realtors or the attorneys in terms of now they have this process to streamline a lot of things because there's a lot of pieces, like you said, to put it together. And it is very fragmented. You have to kind of take this jigsaw puzzle and put it all together. And, the
Right.
industry of real estate to get, qualified for a loan, to get, approved and to get through underwriting and have all these checks and balances in place. And also with, having insurance and things like this, there's so many pieces to put together. And it's in a pretty quick time frame. I mean, most deals here in the U.S., you probably know, happen between 3 weeks to 60 days, depending on like the process and how quick they can get it done. So as far as from what you've seen from these professionals, from the real estate agents, and from the lawyers that are taking this on, and then also other people that are involved in the process, what have been like their direct feedback with this?
Right. So I think there's three main points to that. And so 3 to 6 weeks in the US to close a real estate transaction is absolute best case scenario on a sunny day, bright skies kind of thing here in Jamaica. We are more looking at 3 to 6 months. That's typically how long it takes here. And so having said that, this is where the kind of 3 points comes in. The first point is usually, can you really do that? Can you make it interoperable? Can you make it so everybody kind of comes together? And then the answer is yes. When the answer is yes now, the next question becomes, but if you do that, aren't you cutting out the professionals? And so that's their first concern. Understandably so. And just like any disruptive technology, it has the potential to really cut out professionals or scale them back. And when we illustrate just the opposite, we say, no, what we're doing is actually bringing everybody together, providing this platform for everyone to operate on. Then everybody kind of opens up and says, hey, well, you know what you should do here, and you know what you should include here. And so that's kind of how we went about it. And once they learned that it would help them to, well, they brought it up as well, is that it will increase their capacity for output. And so attorneys could push through more sales agreements. Realtors could handle more transactions. And then everybody is kind of happy with that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And how are you seeing the technology, the underlying technology, of cryptocurrency as the blockchain? And, for those that don't really know, it's a giant ledger that keeps note and track of everything. And so for my clients, I'm in the wealth management space, dealing in cryptocurrency specifically, which may be tied into kind of what you're doing, or maybe a little bit separate. You'll have to let us know in a moment. But there's a lot of questions because it's quote unquote a newer investment, product or service. And so, I talk to my clients all the time, and I tell them, hey, listen, if it's something that you feel comfortable with, or you have an expertise in, or someone that does, it could be an added benefit to your portfolio. But as far as some people that may be concerned about the technology, or they don't really know too much about it, like how could you put their minds at ease telling them a little about blockchain or some of the technology that goes along with it?
Right, absolutely. And their concerns are extremely valid, and their concerns are valid because of, just like anything else, you're only going to hear the sensationalized part of anything, whether it's banking or medicine or whatever the case may be, right? First of all, let's separate the idea of cryptocurrency and blockchain. Sure. So blockchain is what cryptocurrency runs on. And so what I was explaining to someone recently, this may or may not make sense, but it made sense at the point at the time, is if you would imagine blockchain to be Microsoft, right? The actual software, just Microsoft itself, the software company. And then on top of it now, you can run cryptocurrency, or well, let's use Microsoft. So on top of that, you may have Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and a bunch of other products that Microsoft puts out, but they're not related. They're completely different. And so what I say to people is, cryptocurrency does have its value, I think. But again, I think going back to the concept of being disrupted within a framework, cryptocurrency has to grow to mass uptake. And I'm a fan of regulation. I'm a fan of regulation because of what it means for consumer protection. I'm a fan of regulation because of what it means for scaling. A lot of people that are in the crypto space, they're maybe not so much for regulation, right? Sure. And so, for right and wrong reasons, but again, the technology has to grow. So taking it back to blockchain now, blockchain being the underlying software has tons of implications, just tons of implications, as far as efficiencies in just about any space you can imagine. So for instance, one amazing thing, blockchain is immutable. That's at the base of the technology, is its immutability, right? Now, having said that, one of the most amazing things I've heard of them doing, I think, so in Africa, obviously the place is extremely huge. You have extremely far away rural areas. And because of that, you don't necessarily have banking services, loan services, financial services in those areas. A lot of these people don't necessarily have identification either, government issued or otherwise. And so because of the mutability of blockchain, what they were able to do is the financial service providers said, okay, well, let's do this. It was either an FSP, financial service provider, or a tech company. Whatever the case, there's a product that exists that does this now, where they said, okay, download this app, record your fingerprint or record your face. Now, once your biometrics are recording on the blockchain, it belongs to you, it's yours, but it's tamper-proof. So once it scans your face or your fingerprint, that is you no matter where you go. Nobody can deny that. And so what they're able to do now is create identity for these people who were otherwise off the grid. And so what that is allowing for access to loans, access to savings account, access to digitally transacting money, that kind of thing. And for that alone, I think the technology is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it comes from, or goes to. I mean, the future is endless in terms of the opportunities that it can create. And I used to be in banking for years before I got into financial planning and wealth management. And there's a lot of things that are broken in traditional banking and retail banking that need to be fixed. And this is something that can really disrupt that whole industry. It already kind of has started to, but to kind of almost decentralize banking and to kind of keep the power back to the people, so to speak, by not having to be, for lack of a better term, slave to banks, like begging for loans or begging for money, and like we're giving them money. If it wasn't for our money, they wouldn't even exist. So as far as what the technology is what it's gonna do, what are some, since you're in the industry and kind of have a finger on the pulse, what are some of the exciting things that are coming out in the future, pretty near, that are going to happen with blockchain that can get people excited to either do business or do life better?
Well, from a business standpoint, again, it's all about efficiencies, efficiencies in time, efficiencies in cost, right? So banking, as you had touched upon, is a huge thing. And so a lot of banks, we've met with a lot of banks. So we're also actually going into the financial sector. We're working with financial institutions to do so. And it's just, so the project that we're doing, I'm going to try to kind of skirt around this. As I said, we are working with banks, so I can't delve into the nitty-gritty of it. But essentially, it's empowering people. And now, if you would imagine, well, it's no secret. So everybody's using blockchain for remittances right now, right? What does that mean? That means, again, with the mutability of this technology, someone in the US is able to send someone on the continent of Africa, Australia, South America, wherever they are, money or some kind of digital asset within seconds that goes through traditional banking channels. So they're fully AML KYC compliant. And that's just something that was absolutely never available before. So the traditional banking system, if I'm here in Jamaica and I'd like to send money to Australia, that money is most likely, it has to go to a correspondent bank in the US first, and then from the US it has to speak with a bank in the UK, and then from the UK maybe that bank may have a direct line to Australia. And so each step along the way, there's friction. Now, friction causes an increase in time. Friction causes an increase in money, which you would know you're in banking. And now, so we could do right away with that friction. And it's not a matter of wanting to the man or anything like that, but it's about using the technology to make life better. There's absolutely no reason why life has to be so difficult. It takes 4, 5, 7 days, sometimes even a month just to send money somewhere while it's going through the proper channels. Obviously, KYC is a concern, AML is a concern, as it should be, rightly so. But it doesn't have to be a limiting factor. It doesn't have to be a hindrance to the process. And this technology is helping to do so. And you had asked a question, I think now is the right time to kind of explain blockchain in this sense. And one example I love to use is, let's just say, for instance, you're going to a bank, right? You have a check to pick up. Now, you walk into this bank for the very, very first time. Nobody knows you in there, but you know you have a check to pick up, or maybe you're going to be doing business with them, right? You introduce yourself to the teller. You say, "Hi, I'm Jesse T. I've come for my $2 million that you owe me," right? And then the teller may take you now to the manager and say, "Mr. Manager, this is Jesse. He's come for his check." And now the manager knows you. Now the manager takes you to the accountant and then the head accountant. So total, let's say there's 4 people in that entire process. Now let's call each one of those people a block, right? Now, and this is efficiency and immutability comes in place. Each one of those people has to check off that you, Jesse, actually came to pick up this check, right? But would you have to go through that every single time you go to the bank? You go to the teller, you say, "Hey, I'm Jesse," and teller takes you to the manager to junior accountant to senior accountant, right? Whereas with blockchain, we're saying, okay, you've already met the teller, right? The teller has your ID, knows who you are. The manager, the junior accountant, and the senior accountant. Every single one of these persons, every single one of these blocks along the blockchain already knows you. Now, every single one of these persons has to agree that, yeah, you are owed a check. Every single one of these blocks along the blockchain has to agree as well, has to sync up and say, okay, Jesse's owed a check. So when you walk into the bank the next time or that place of business and you show them your ID, whether it's a thumbprint, your face, or just an ID card, something to swipe, your check is just issued automatically. And that is exactly, I think, one of the easiest, best examples of blockchain.
That's incredible. And I'm excited to stick it to the man sometimes. So this will be good for those people that do want to disrupt in that way. But as far as, you talk about AML, which is anti-money laundering, and KYC, know your client, coming from the banking world, those things were instituted back in 2008 with the Patriot Act. And so with all those things, it's all about making sure that money coming in into banks, out of banks through anti-money laundering is done the right way, and we're not funding, evil things like terrorism, all this stuff. And know your client is as simple as just really getting it's the old school relationship of back in the day when you go into a bank. Eventually you build that rapport. You know the bank manager, the staff, the people that are selling, and eventually once you build up that relationship, then you can have a lot of things that open up to you. But it sounds like blockchain is making it way more efficient, way more cost effective, and they're doing it on a global scale. So you don't have to walk into the bank every single day. You can do it through blockchain. Is that pretty true to what's happening with it?
Right, absolutely. And so obviously there's, just like you have Microsoft, Apple, Google, and you have a bunch of different OSs, operating systems, you have a bunch of different blockchains, and each with their unique focus, then let's say. What I'm excited about in particular is the potential for all of those focuses to kind of come together, right? Now, having said that, let's say there's a hot stock on the Japanese market, right? I'm all the way in Jamaica. I don't know anybody in Japan. The banks don't know me. But let us say my ID is on the blockchain, or I'm on this banking network's blockchain. There should be absolutely no reason why I can't participate in the next greatest IPO coming out of Japan or Europe. Right. Pick up a button. And it's not a fairy tale. It's not utopic. It is absolutely possible with blockchain going through proper banking channels. And this is exactly the type of thing that the technology is growing into. It's kind of, that single world, and so to speak, the one world order.
Yeah. It really is tying everyone around the world a lot closer together. And it is putting power back into people's hands, having a lot more control. And it is, we're in a very technological driven age, and we've almost stolen fire from the gods in a sense. We have to be really careful with all these technologies we have access to. And even speaking on that, you have another piece to your life, that you have another part of your business that you're working on too, on another business altogether. Is this separate from SmartECO, or is this tied into it with the Telemed business?
Right. So the real estate platform has gone off to pilot stage, and so everything that we do, it goes back. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but when we go into a business, we go into the business thinking we don't know anything. Let's reach out to the professionals that know things. Let's partner with the people that are actually doing this already, or have the wherewithal to be a success. And having said that, it allows us the ability to scale and look at different projects. And so the real estate project is underway with that particular partner, and they're piloting now, and hopefully we'll launch Q1 2020. Yeah, man, thanks. And so the banking industry or the financial services one, this one is more about financial inclusion and financial literacy. And this is actually my baby that I'm extremely, extremely proud of. But this particular one is going to take no less than the next year and a half, 2 years to really, really start coming together. And we're not speaking yet about scaling out. So this is a long-term project.
Sure.
It's coming together nicely though. So having said that, we still need to find a way to keep the lights on, right? We still need to find projects to do, things to get involved with. And so telemedicine came to mind. The idea to actually start this particular project was not mine. I was working with another. I was consulting for another company who was getting in the space as well, and they wanted to go one particular way with it. And I had a very, very unique opportunity, which I presented to them. And I said, "Hey, listen, license me your software and let me use it over here." The long and short of it, it kind of didn't work out between us. So I said, "All right, guy. You do your space, I'm going to use it for this particular thing," and we're kind of coexisting like that. But so what we're focusing on, so we touched on it a bit on our telephone conversation, is we would have some GPs or general practitioners on there being able to see people. But what we're most focused on are the disenfranchised persons throughout the Caribbean. Disenfranchised, well, when I say really 2 or 3 islands in the Caribbean, and then we're kind of scaling outwards. My friend doing his telemedicine thing is doing it throughout the Caribbean as well, and we don't really want to step on toes and tarnish relationships, and so we're going our way, he's going his. So we're really just in three areas in the Caribbean, but then we're coming to major cities. So what we're focusing on really is mental health. Mental health is a huge thing, obviously. And so delving into this now for maybe the past 2 or 3 months and really deep diving into telemedicine and deep diving into what it means for mental health care has opened my mind, or my eyes rather, immensely. And not just what it means for the professionals, but what it means for patients that may be in rural areas, patients that have problems with mobility, patients that are in very, let's call it like Jamaica is an extremely kind of macho culture. And so there's a huge stigma around mental health care. And so while the last statistic that I read was there's 500,000 in a country of 3 million, there's 500,000 people that have identified as having some kind of mental health issue.
Wow.
That could be a diagnosed mental disorder, that could be a substance abuse disorder, or it could just be depression. One of the big things that we have here in Jamaica is actually schizophrenia. And so, again, keeping with our mandate of everything that we do, needing to actually help people, change people's lives, is that we found a very, very unique way to actually get people, let's call it free mental health care, sponsored by companies and individuals, and allow them the access that they need for whatever reason it is they need that access through a computer or through a telephone, through a mobile app. Again, whether it is they're living way out in the country area, in the mountains, or they're in an inner city community, whether it is they can't afford a taxi or they just can't get to a clinic. And this is what we're doing with telemedicine. And again, if you notice the trend with the technology is no matter what we're using, it's trying to empower people and bring people into the fold, so to speak. And that's kind of where we're focusing. And why I'm particularly happy about this project is because as a business model, it's amazing. There's a ton of money to be made in it, and you're not taking from these people. And that's what makes me the happiest, is that you're not taking from anybody. And so I think we found a way for the professionals to win. They're able to scale their business. We will send them business they wouldn't have otherwise had. The patients are able to get affordable health care. in some instances, free healthcare. And they can do it from the comfort of their home, their car, their office, wherever it is they want. And then obviously us now, we're able to actually grow a viable business and achieve our personal goals of entrepreneurship.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you have this servant's heart. So where do you feel like that came from? Because everything you're trying to do is trying to be inclusive, bringing people together. You obviously, there's the karma side to it. If you help enough people, you get help, kind of thing. So it's like, where does all this mindset come from?
I can't definitively say, but earlier you had asked me if there was any one thing that stood out to me that I had learned throughout my life that has kind of stuck with me, and I had said, I don't remember, but you haven't asked me that. No, I do kind of remember. Years ago, I think I was early teenager, if that. I remember, I don't remember if I saw it on the TV or if I read it, but essentially the mandate is this, or the concept is this, is that the best way to get ahead in life is to help others get ahead. And so that's kind of the premise that I've been working on.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it really is true. I mean, it's, one of those things where if you can add value enough times to enough people, I mean, it really does come back to you, whether it makes you feel good, whether it fills your pocket, whether it's, this karma and you're leaving the world a better place, it really does make a difference. And so I think that you're in that business, you're in a service-based, well, both of them are really service-based businesses. You're doing a lot for people on both ends. And so going back to the telemed business, so it sounds like what are some of the services that are going to be provided through the telemed business? If someone needs help, you mentioned there's some mental health stuff that people can be worked on with through telemed. Is there some other services people can get help with through that product and service that you're offering?
Right. So, for instance, you'll be able to see a general practitioner. So if there's something, and there's many reasons you may not want to or need to go to the doctor. Let's say you have a history of ulcers, or you wake up with a tummy ache and you see a GP online, you and your GP know each other, there may or may not be any need to go into that doctor. You know what I mean? Let's say someone has a cold sore, they may not want to leave their house, right? They may not necessarily want to go anywhere. So they'll just speak to their doctor, hey, doc, this is the situation, and then the doctor is able to prescribe right there and send it to the pharmacy. One of the things that we're doing, not in Jamaica, but in one of the other territories, is trying to work in a delivery system where that's concerned. Jamaica would pose a few nuances, and so we're thinking about how that delivery system would work here. But for the most part, that's something else that we're working on as well. And again, it's about being inclusive, because not everybody is able to leave their home, and for varying reasons. And so that's kind of where we see it going.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so just to kind of go back a little bit, like a good Quentin Tarantino movie, it never starts off in the very beginning. It always kind of jumps around. But there was a change in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit, where you were in the corporate world and you decided to make a shift and tell the world. It was back in 2015. So you went from, what were you doing prior to being an entrepreneur, and what was that catalyst to get you to go all in on what you're doing now?
Right. So for quite some time, I was a business development professional. I love business development. I love helping people grow their businesses, scale their businesses. It doesn't matter if it's a coconut business, a cake business, or a multi-million-dollar development. I just love being involved and watching people grow. And so I had actually received a promotion, and I was working in outdoor marketing and advertising, out-of-home advertising. And so I had actually received a promotion at that time to move to the North Coast and scale the business there while I was on the North Coast. And that was a great company, and no complaints there with that company. While I was on the North Coast, I got another job offer to go work in the real estate world. So there was a luxury villa development. And this is kind of now where I realized, all right, I need to go live my dream. I need to go do what I want to do. So I was at this luxury villa development, again, in a business development capacity. And what I realized is that the product was just not the right fit for the people that they were targeting. It was just not happening. And this was 2015. I was on the North Coast. As I had told you, I took a little vacay last week. I was on the North Coast, and I was looking at the development, and it's gone absolutely nowhere. And what I was telling them is that the people that you are targeting, the price point that you are targeting, they don't want this area, right? real estate location, location, location.
Right.
You don't want this area. This price point is way too high, right? And so I had a very, very long story short. I took the initiative. I said, you know what? I got an engineer together, an architect together. I got interior designers. I got all the professionals needed, attorneys, everything. And I got them to put together an entire package of homes, pre-designed homes within the price point of people were looking for. And I presented it to the board and said, guys, this is what we actually need to grow this thing. And the owner of the development is actually one of the most powerful men in Washington. I don't know how he ended up here in Jamaica, but I think
Washington, D.C. or Washington State or Washington elsewhere?
DC.
Okay.
I guess he just had a few extra million lying around that he wanted to do something in Jamaica.
Sure.
And so the owner said, you're trying to devalue my property. And I said to him, I said, sir, do you think you hired an idiot? Right? I'm not trying to devalue your property, but your property isn't growing. People that you're targeting, they don't want here. And we kind of butted head there a bit, but we came to terms, and I mean, we're still on good terms and so on, but that didn't come to be. Right? And then I said to them, well, all right, you don't want this. What about some nice townhouses? And again, no, that's the wrong thing. That's not what I want to do up there. And I said, you know what, guys? This is not for me. You know what I mean? And that's really kind of when I realized that, and if that's their dream, that's their dream. If they didn't want to do what I wanted to, that's perfectly fine. But in my mind, I was doing the right thing for that business. And then when you have that kind of inner conflict where you believe you're doing the right thing, and it doesn't coincide with what corporate believes or what the company you are working with believes in, then you kind of have to look at where you're going and what you're doing. And so at that point in time, I said, am I going to go to another corporate job? Am I going to go work for someone else? Or am I going to go live my dream? And so I had a few bucks saved up. At the time I was making decent money. I had a few dollars saved up. I said, you know what? That's it. I'm going to just quit here and now and just go and start. And so I pounded the pavement. So the first thing I got into was concrete. Me and a partner, we printed 10,000 flyers. I literally went around. So we wanted to sell concrete, but you're not going to sell that much concrete to so many people. So then we said, okay, what are we going to do? And being an entrepreneur, we said, okay, let's do stamped concrete, right? So the end game is to just get rid of our concrete. We had access to a lot of concrete. Then we said, all right, let's go hand out flyers and see if we can get people to do stamped concrete driveways. And that was fun. So I literally just found developments of like 1,000 houses, 500 houses, and just walked and handed out flyers.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, man, thanks. And the calls started coming in. And that was fun. Then I decided to try my hand in distribution, which is a monster within itself, especially in the third world. The amount of bureaucracy and underhanded dealings and kind of thing, like at the black market when it comes to distribution in the third world, that was a huge learning experience.
What were some of your takeaways from that?
Don't do that.
Don't do it. Get out of it.
No, so for me, all right, so distribution, you have these huge giants that distribute, right? The massive companies. And then you have the very small companies, and each one of them has their niche. And you know what, the takeaway from that is whatever you're doing, find your niche and kind of stick with it.
Yeah. You gotta. It sounds like the biggest thing is taking the leap, right? And you realized after a deal or a partnership that wasn't for you, and it didn't resonate with what you were trying to accomplish. You weren't afraid to really continue to chase your dream. And so, did you have entrepreneurial family members, or is this just something kind of innate in you that you grew up with?
My family has quite a few businesses. So when I say family, not necessarily my mother and father. We do everything as a cumulative kind of family. And so they've always been in agriculture, shipping, logistics, and different things like that. And so, but the entrepreneurial effect of that would have started years ago. So just the other day, in September, we actually celebrated 100 years in business. And so it's gone a little beyond entrepreneurship.
Sure.
I grew up within a business environment, so to speak, and I always knew that. I mean, growing up in it, I kind of love the concept of shipping and logistics and how intricate it is. But I knew I wanted to try something else for my own and build myself and that kind of thing. So that's where it came from.
What are some of the, I guess the bedrock or the cornerstones of your entrepreneurial mindset? Like what are your thoughts in terms of going into a venture and building it out? Like, are you a work ethic guy? Or are you an efficiency guy? Or, I mean, are you a people person kind of guy? Like what do you feel like you're really great at that served you very well in your endeavors of being an entrepreneur?
Get it done.
Get it done.
I don't care if I was explaining this to someone recently as well. Is I work with so many different people, and I don't expect everyone to have the same drive as I do. And I'm not saying that to put myself on some kind of high horse, but people have different lives, right? You have kids and a wife. I don't. So things may be a lot more flexible for me. So if you said, Xavier, can we meet at 9 a.m.? I'm going to meet at 9 a.m. because I know my schedule may be a little more flexible. However, had you said, can we meet at 3 a.m.? I would have happily have woken up and met at 3 a.m. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned to kind of use as a catalyst to get me forward from one project to the next. And I think that's what people should not aspire to, but find what works for you then. You understand? Find what works for you. So I'm not necessarily the most organized person. I may not wake up and work from 9 to 5. I try to wake up typically anywhere between 6:30 and 7:30. But maybe I'll take half the morning to do something or nothing. But you best believe I'm still the same person that's going to work until 4 a.m. in the morning. And so get it done, I think, whether you get it done at 9 a.m. or 3 a.m., it doesn't matter. Just make sure you're getting it done and you're moving forward one step at a time. That's the most important thing.
I love that mentality. You got to have that mentality anywhere in life. And you got to know where you're great and where you're not so great. And like you said, being an entrepreneur, one of the freedoms is freedom of time, but you really got to make sure that you are mindful of that freedom of time, because some people take advantage of it and they take too much time to not get anything done. Whereas if you want to sleep in, or if you want to go work on something, or if you have something you got to go do, you know that the other end of that 24 hours, if it's late into the night or early in the hours in the morning, you're going to get your job done. And as long as you know that about yourself and you know who you are and you're like super self-aware and genuine with the type of person you are, that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. Just control of your time, control how you serve people, control of, like you said, going on vacation and working hard. So I think it all ties together. In your mind, entrepreneurs, there's a lot of them that watch this show and listen to the show, and whether they're business leaders, entrepreneurs, people that are starting out, or people that have been in business for many years. What would you say for like a go-home message to those people that are building something, working on something, and maybe the ups and downs and ebbs and flows of business? What would you say for them in terms of just to kind of keep moving forward? You mentioned just get it done, but any other value adds to these entrepreneurs that you can leave them with?
Oh, absolutely. The most important thing is to believe in what you're doing. A lot of people say, you need to believe in yourself, and sometimes that's difficult, right? And sometimes you may not have the resources to do something. You may not have the knowledge to do something. But if you believe in what you're doing, in my opinion, I think you will find the resources. You'll pull on different. That's the book I told you I was reading, Mind Sharing. That's exactly one of the key takeaways is the fact that our crowdsourcing is the fact that we don't know everything, right? But if you believe in what you're doing and you keep at it, then I think the wrap up to that point is just going one step at a time. If you have a 9 to 5 and all you can dedicate is 30 minutes in the evening, dedicate those 30 minutes and do one more thing. Maybe tomorrow do 45 minutes and do 2 more things, but just keep at it. Once you have a product or a service that you believe in, absolutely.
Keep showing up. I love it. And just keep the faith and work your butt off. So as far as people finding out more about you or your businesses, what you're working on, how can people find you and connect with you?
Sure. So my email address is Xavier, Xavier, at SmartECO, SmartECO.tech. Shoot me an email and I'll be happy to answer questions or reply. As randomly as we met, is I love to meet people and just chat.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with the viewers and the listeners. You keep doing big things. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens for you in 2020 and beyond, man. And we'll definitely stay in touch and build our partnership as well. Thank you so much, Xavier Johnston, founding managing partner of SmartECO Blockchain Solutions. Make sure you check him out on his email, on social media. For this week's episode, I'm Jesse T. Thanks so much. Catch us on next week's episode of Jesse T Show.
Jesse, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, my pleasure as well. You take care.